Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, April 11th, and it's time for Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
And we're really glad to be with you, and also glad that we didn't have any issues this week with our logging on as we had last week. So we have a very, very great show tonight. And before we get started, I want to mention a couple of things. One, our Black Authors Matter TV Awards finalist votes. The voting has started, and you can vote for the people in the categories, 15 categories. There are 5 finalists, and the winners will be awarded on our award show on May 16th. So you can vote every day for your favorites. The voting ends April 28th. It opened yesterday. We've gotten about 500 ballots so far already.
Awesome.
So it's very robust. Vote for your favorites. The second thing I want to mention is that I want to mention these books that I've recently acquired. Sometimes I'll share books that I've gotten based on either people that have been on the show or book club recommendations or whatever. So, but I like to mention people who books that you can read yourself or that you may not know about. So this one's called Angel of Greenwood. Is by Randy Pink, and it's about the Greenwood, the riots in Greenwood from years ago. It's a young adult book. This one by Connie Briscoe is called You Never Know, and it is our book club kickback read for June. So I'll mention the date for that later, but this just recently came out. It's hardcover. Here's a book called
on that book club.
The date for the kickback is June 13th. June 13th. So we're having our book club kickback for this book then. And this one's called The Perishing. It is by Natasha Dion. She was on the show a few weeks ago. So I ordered her book. And this book is called The Deeps. It is by River Solomon. And somebody who was on the show mentioned this book. So I went ahead and got it. I haven't read any of these books yet. I have so many to be read books. But I like to support these books, and I will eventually get to them all. It's just a matter of when. I really need to be able to take like 2 weeks where I just only read books, but I can never do that. So the next thing, we're giving away 2 books tonight, but we'll give them away after this first interview. And we're going to bring on our first guest. And our first guest is a young man. His name is Sidney Keys III. And he seems like he's just really accomplished a whole lot. He's only 17, if I'm correct. I believe he's 17 years old.
Nice.
And he created a organization or effort called Books and Bros, and he's going to tell you what prompted him to do it. Winnie Thompson, the name you see, is his mother. So I've been communicating with her about him being on the show, and we wanted to get him on early in the evening. So because he's on the East Coast, he's on Eastern time, and we wanted to make sure he can go to bed for school tomorrow. So, so Sidney Keys III, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. Thank you.
Yes, we love having young people on the show. I mean, we have, sometimes we have teen authors or teens that have book projects. We had that a few weeks ago. We had some young ladies that were in high school. They had a book project, sending books to Africa. So
amazing.
Yeah. So tell us about Books and Bros and what prompted you to start it, and exactly is it? Like, is it
I'd
an
love to.
organization? Is it a what is it? What is it exactly?
So to answer that entire question, Books and Bros is actually a book club that I started when I was 10 years old to advocate for African American literacy for boys the ages 7 to 13. And in creating Books and Bros, initially, the idea to start the book club wasn't what sparked my love of reading for African American literacy. It was simply just a trip to the only African American children's bookstore in St. Louis called I See Me, where my mom took me there when I was actually 10 years old. And when I went there, I'd always had a love for reading, but reading books with characters who look like me was just a completely different spark. And I wanted to continue to experience that with the books that I read. And so I asked the bookstore owners if they had a book club that I could join or anything that I knew of. And they said no. The only one that they knew of was for girls. And so 10-year-old Sidney at the time, when I asked my mom, I was like, hey, can I start one for my friends then? And she was all on board with the idea of being an entrepreneur herself. She honestly was kind of proud seeing how I took initiative from something that I saw. And so we came up with the name Books and Bros, and that's how the book club itself was founded and created.
So you had a pretty good group of friends who were already reading books, or did you have to kind of convince them to do this?
I had a couple of friends that had joined the book club from school, like from the elementary school that I went to, but a lot of the members also I met from the book club itself. So like meeting up and like going to like the first meetup, I met like five or so new guys that I never saw before, and we became best friends that way.
That's awesome.
Now, interestingly, the I See Me bookstore owners were on the show.
Awesome.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna do this real quick because they actually were are finalists for the awards. I just want to look up the dates and the name. Yeah, Jeffrey Blair
Hmm.
is the owner's name, and he was on the show. I don't have that. I don't have the date here, but I want to say it was 6 months ago when he was on the show. So it's been a while since he was on, but he didn't tell us about the book club because our conversation was mostly about the store itself
Hmm.
and what they do and who their customers are and what gave them the idea. So it's good that you had a resource there in where you live, because and this is the importance of having independent Black-owned bookstores, because otherwise children don't have an outlet for some of the ideas they may have that are related to books and reading.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in finding a bookstore like I See Me was really what kind of I'd always had a love for reading, but it definitely amplified the books I wanted to read and amplified my love of reading to a different level, being able to relate to the characters in the books that I read. And I think that representation is important because, especially as a Black kid in America, we want to be able to see people that are succeeding in the dreams that we want to achieve in the books that we read. And of course, it's going to be harder for a kid to kind of see himself as an astronaut if he never sees anyone who looks like him as an astronaut. And I think that it's important to not only show like history books of that, but also fictional characters who the modern like kid can relate to, like, oh yeah, he likes things that I like, but he's also into STEM. He's also very smart, but he likes shoes and basketball, and he's not just an athlete. Just things like that, to where the character in the story is very relatable. And I think that that's important. And I'm really grateful that I See Me created that aspect.
Well, I would say that, first of all, I really love the fact that you had this idea and that the adults around you took it seriously. Because it could have been a case where, like, oh, that's cute. You want to start a book club. Yeah, all right. You go play with your friends. But they actually took it seriously and they encouraged it. And so that actually grew into something even bigger.
Yeah, I'm definitely grateful for my mom and everyone else in St. Louis who helped me propel the idea for sure. Because it definitely could have been just like one of those ideas as a kid that you like kind of come up with, but like everyone just kind of thinks like a cute little idea. Like we can start a little book club, like we can have some of your friends come out, and then that's the end of it. But they really helped me amplify into like a whole like business, like making a subscription based company out of a book club that I started when I was 10 years old. And I'm extremely grateful for that.
So do you all still have the book club? Do y'all still meet regularly to talk about books?
So we actually have not met since pre-pandemic just because of COVID. And also we recently moved to Atlanta, Georgia. Although we did just purchase a space in Atlanta, Georgia, where we'll be hosting our meetups soon, actually, within like the next couple of months is when we want to start meeting in person again.
So there's a plan in the oven. I see that.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Oh, so,
no, go ahead, Gwen.
well, you mentioned the subscription service.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hear more about that. Exactly. What made you think about starting it? I know if your mom's an entrepreneur, I know she knows that, you need to monetize things, otherwise all the money's going out the door. You have to have some money coming in the door.
Absolutely.
So
I think that like especially with like the money coming in the door, it was kind of like a necessity because books are not cheap. And giving away books to kids is something that we definitely want to do, but we also wanted to figure out a way to create a sustainable book club. And so in creating a subscription-based business was the way that we thought about doing that. And so actually each month so we do the book club by month. So each month you receive a new book. And included with the book is actually a custom made box that we ship out to each and every member, which includes the book. It includes chips, trinkets, any other partnerships that we might have, such as like bookmarks. And we also develop curriculum for each of the books that we pick for that month to make sure that the boys are actually digesting what they're reading and so that we can talk about it in greater depth in person. And that's for $30 a month.
That is amazing that you put that much thought into this subscription box. First of all, how did you come up with this concept? And then second of all, did all of this come right away or was this something that maybe evolved over time?
I guess the idea behind it was honestly, we just wanted to transform this into something that was bigger than us. And the way that we saw that happening was kind of taking it to the next level and creating it into a business. And a way that we actually wanted to kind of keep it like we didn't want like boys who couldn't afford the $30 monthly fee to not be able to join the book club. So we actually created a nonprofit side of the book club to where people can essentially donate to the nonprofit, which is called Chubb Cares Adopt a Bro. And it's essentially adopting a bro into the book clubs to where they can pay for their membership so they have no fee at all. And I guess in taking it to the next level, I have to give thanks to my mom and my team, of course, that kind of really helped me propel this idea for sure.
Wow.
That's great. How many subscribers do you have? About
currently we have around 50 or so, but we've reached over 750 internationally. Because people subscribe and unsubscribe since it's a business, but currently we have around 50.
Okay, that's good because that helps pay for some books. Mm-hmm. So how do you select your books that you like the monthly book that you all feature? How do you decide which books to feature?
So the process with selecting books kind of varies on the month. So like in the earlier years of the book club, we actually kind of had like some kind of like debates on like what book to read next. So like some members would want to read this book for this month or like this one for that one. And so they will all make their case separately, and whichever book that we decided to read for that month is the one that we read for that month, and then the one that lost, we read it the following month. And so some of the times that were like in the beginning of the book club, we did it like that. We also take recommendations from like IC and other local owned bookstores, and as well as authors who send their books in who thinks that their books would be a good fit for the book club and the boys.
Now, is that a selection process? How do you choose? Because there are authors who are going to want to send their books to you because it's going to expand their readership. But are you a bit selective about which books you choose?
Yeah, so we normally want to target the age range that the book club is, like, I guess, catered to. So 7 to 13 is the age range that we ask that the books that authors want to send in be in. Mm-hmm. Also, we always want to switch up the genre of book that we're reading. So we never want to read something that is kind of like the same book as the book that we read in the previous month. So like if we want to read historical fiction one month, then we might want to go to a sci-fi or a fantasy or a comedy book like for the next I guess month, you could say. So we always want to switch it up.
Okay, so what's the age range for people who are in your club?
7 to 13 is the age range.
Okay, so go ahead.
Although I'm working to create an older chapter for members who are around my age now that I'm not 13 anymore.
Right, because you're 17, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So it's 7 to 13. So, but are they all reading the same book? So is the 7-year-old reading the same thing the 13-year-old is reading and vice versa?
Yeah, so there is only 1 month or one book provided for the box for that month. We normally try to keep the books kind of like I guess broad in the sense that it'll be interesting for a 13-year-old to read, but it's also not too hard or difficult or heavy for a 7-year-old to read. Of course, like at different points in the business, we have different subscriptions, like different age groups based on like subscriptions. So if we have like, I guess like 25, 13-year-olds and like 5, 7-year-olds, we're gonna try to cater to the 13-year-olds a little bit more, but not too much to where the 7-year-olds can't get anything out of their membership.
Right, right.
Now, do you have a sample of your box one of your boxes that you send things in so we can see what it looks like? Because you said you had customized boxes. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I might
You
have
don't have
one.
any handy.
I don't have any in my room right now, but I know we will have some in the living room if you want me to go grab one.
Okay, well, maybe you can yell to your mom.
Okay, I'll ask her. Hold on,
Or
I'll
text her. Yeah, you can
I'll
text your
text
mom. I do that sometimes at home if I'm
Yes,
going
it's-
the other.
when I was your age and we didn't have cell phones and everything, we actually had to shout throughout the house.
Right, but we couldn't shout at our parents.
Well, while we're waiting for the boxes to come, if we have any, I can show you guys also my book that I wrote for the book club as well. You guys
Oh,
want to
yeah,
hear
we
it?
would definitely want to see that.
I forgot to
So
mention it earlier.
it's beautiful.
Thank
Tell
you.
us about it.
So this is actually my second book, or my first book that I actually published with the publishing company. And it's about all the books that we've read in the book club and my story with creating the book club. And it also features resources in the backs of the book club to other literacy-based organizations. And so if you look at the cover, like all these characters are the main characters of books that we've read in the book club.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
it's 44 inspiring books for Black boys is what we wanted the subtitle to be. So even if you like go in the book, we based up each chapter based on the genre of the book that we're catering to.
Okay.
So like you can see on this page in the table of contents, but like chapter 3 is like there's that novels, short stories, and poems. So like, and you can see all the other different
Wow.
That is
genres.
very impressive.
I can see you making different versions of this book. You'll have one this year, and then next year maybe another one with some new books. Is that something that you're thinking of?
It's not something that I've thought about, but it's definitely an idea that you just planted in my head.
We do on Black Authors Matter TV.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
plan ideas and then we spread them and we get books sold and we make people famous. That's what I'm gonna say.
Thank you. But yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I'd love to do that. I want to write some more books. I really like to read about like fiction. So I think like fiction is something that I'm interested in for sure for the future.
Okay, yeah, I'm a fiction girl myself. I love writing fiction, but I love a good nonfiction as well. So
Oh yeah.
I'm with you on that. Now speaking of that, do you have a favorite author?
I do have a favorite author. He's actually is Jason Reynolds. That's probably my favorite author right now. I really like his work a lot, especially with his book, A Long Way Down. That's probably like my favorite book by him. And I actually got to meet him in person for the first time a couple months ago, which was pretty nice.
Oh yes. How did you meet him?
It was at an event actually in Washington, D.C., where I was speaking at the Martin Luther King Library. And my mom surprised me with him kind of just showing up and being in like the back of the room. And he just sat through like my entire like speech. And then at the end, he was like, "Hey, Sidney, I'm Jason Reynolds." And I was like, "What?" So I got to talk to him a little bit after that. And he's really cool. He was even saying like he would mentor me, and if I had any questions to always like call him up or talk to him.
That's wonderful.
That it really is. So what is next for you in terms of like, are you planning to go to college? Have you picked a college? What's your major going to be? Tell us about what you have plan? Because you're 17, so are you a senior?
I'm a junior, but
You're a
senior
junior,
year's coming
okay.
fast.
Okay, all right. So have you decided what's your area of interest or focus going to be?
I'm coming to narrowing it down. The closer I get to narrowing what my focus of interest is, I find something else that I'm interested in. So I can't speak on that too much, but I'm definitely interested in English. Like I like to write. Writing is something that I definitely would do in college. I've been looking at journalism and news broadcasting as well,
Mm.
which could it's kind of just up in the sky right now, but that's definitely been an interest of
That
mine for
man
a
is my
while.
own heart. I mean, I was an English major, communications major. I'm a former journalist and I write fiction. So I'm here with you.
Uh-huh.
Well, I will tell you this. I'm so glad that you have developed a relationship with writing because I'll tell you that's what helped me through school. I have 3 degrees now. And one of the things that helped me to get through writing all of those papers was the fact that I knew how to write and I knew how to express thoughts. And it takes you a long way, even if you don't feel like you have the strongest knowledge of that course that's being taught. The fact that you know how to write and you know how to research is what's going to catapult you through those classes. So I'm very glad that you have developed writing at such a young age.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
you'll be able to use that skill throughout college and life.
Oh yeah.
Through, as you enter whatever profession you end up with, writing is always a useful skill in any profession. And as Rhonda said, I only have 1 degree and I don't want any more. But when well, I have some degrees, but not from an academic institution. I have some skill sets that it's actually like a PhD, but I don't have the paper. But my writing always got me A's in just about every class, not just English, the other ones that I took. I was a business major. And so writing, we had to write an economics class. I had to write for international business. We had to sometimes do an assessment of a company, and the research and being able to pull that together in a form that's coherent and readable is a skill that you can use. Now, I saw in some of your information online that you've been featured in a lot of on TV and all kinds of places. Tell us about some of your experiences with being featured on television.
Absolutely. So I guess some of the more memorable experiences being featured on television, I would kind of have to be remiss to not mention the Steve Harvey show. That was probably like the biggest platform I've been on. And it honestly was just really surreal meeting kind of like an icon. Like meeting Steve Harvey was extremely like humbling, and it was really nice to be able to be on his show as well. I was extremely grateful because he not only allowed me to be on the show, but he helped partner with Amazon to donate a bunch of Kindle e-readers, and they also donated $10,000 to our company. And so I was extremely grateful for that.
That's awesome.
I guess probably another notable one is the CNN Young Wonders ceremony, which was also it was like the following week. It was like the same week. So I flew from the Steve Harvey show to New York to be on this ceremony. And they actually gave me an award, which is right here. There we go. They gave me an award with the Young Wonders Award.
Oh, wow.
So this was probably.
That looks fabulous.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's not too bad.
Oh, okay. But that's that's great. Anytime you can get what's called earned media, meaning free positive press.
Yeah.
Because free negative press doesn't help you. People say any publicity is good publicity. No, that's not true. Especially in these days, negative publicity is negative, and it can really just like crush a person because now it spreads so fast with social media that people can really just go into a deep depression after having something like that. And I'm glad, and there's so many stories about young Black men that aren't positive. And so it's great that you were able to get some publicity for what you're doing and for being a positive young man, doing something good and that can help other people.
Amen.
Thank you.
So what what's next for Books and
I
Bros?
was gonna ask the same.
We complete each other's sentences all the time. Um, so what's next?
What's next for Books and Bros is probably the most recent thing that we're planning next is at the end of this month, we're going to New Jersey I actually got selected as an emerging visionary for Prudential. So there's going to be a summit there with, I think, around 20 other kids who were selected as emerging visionaries to like kind of come out and learn about how to, I guess, expand and like, I guess expand the whatever like causes that they're trying to like what commit themselves to and any business or organizations that they started. And so in going there, like I'm sure there's going to be a lot of workshops, things like that at the summit, and people that like will be able to give us guidance and help for what we want to do with our organizations.
That is
Well,
amazing.
that is
People have
amazing.
really recognize what you're doing and they've poured into it. I mean, where did these people come from? All of a sudden you just became famous.
No. But I mean, I think they just kind of pour in from all over, especially from the media coverage that I received early on. I think that that's a big factor. And also my mom helps a lot with like, I guess like keeping up to date, like my resume and always applying to these types of organizations and summits and grants and things like that. And also just like with like upholding our media, like with social media, I think it's like an extremely important tool that can be used if used the right way, can really amplify someone. And so she does a really good job with using social media to amplify our voices through the club.
That's great. Well, again, you're to be congratulated for what you're doing. Now, here's something. I don't know if you've already started thinking about scholarships, or you might get a full ride somewhere with the things that you're doing. But with college being so expensive, your efforts and your resume will be great in terms of applications for scholarships, because people who have money that they are donating to education for students who are going somewhere with their education, they're always looking for an amazing story like yours. And I say that as a mother of a daughter who went to college debt free, and we applied for over a 5-year period, 300 different scholarships, but she didn't have $1 of debt after she graduated. And yeah, she had no debt and she had more money than she could spend. But when you are applying and looking, when they're looking, what will help elevate you, and because you're competing with, it depends on how many people apply. But what will help elevate your status is all of the great work you've done. So you might want to start working on it's called your essay, your like biographical essay that just about every scholarship asks for. You might start working on that now if you haven't already, because they normally will want about 500 words to explain you, like to tell about yourself and what you've done. So you have enough information to, you have lots that you can use for that purpose. Well, we're out of time for your interview, but we want people to know how they can reach Books and Bros on social media so they can contribute to your efforts or to support you.
So how you're able to reach Books and Bros on social media is our handles are pretty much the same on all media. So on Instagram, our Instagram is Books and Bros, Books BOOKS, and then the letter N, and then Bros BROS. It should be the same on Facebook and Twitter as well. And if you want to follow my personal page, it's just my full name, which is Sidney Keys III.
Okay, well, we also put your website and your Amazon handle, or excuse me, your Barnes and Noble handle in the chat. So if anybody wants to support the book or learn more about Books and Bros, just look in the chat and both of the websites are there.
Yeah, and congratulations again, young man, for being such a visionary and putting your mission to action, because action is where it is. A lot of people have dreams, but you have to act on them. in order to bring them to fruition. And you've done that. So we are very proud of you. And we know we're going to be seeing more great things from Sidney Keys III. Thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. Best wishes on everything that you do and all of your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Okay, good night, and say good night to your mother.
Oh, I'll tell her. Good night.
Okay. All right. That was interesting. I'm glad we had a young man, because we've had the young ladies doing things, and I'm glad we had a young man doing something in literature. So we have 2 books we're giving away. I am going to let you know the books, and then we're going to do the trivia at the end of this second interview. So this first book is an advanced reading copy. It's by Arthur Angie Thomas. It's called Nick Blake and the Remarkables, and it's a young adult read. So that's that one. And the second book that we have for tonight is by Tracy Brown. She's a best-selling author, and it's her latest book called Hold You Down. So the trivia questions, we'll announce those at the end of this second interview. And our second interview subject is Dr. Micheal Wilkins. So we're going to bring him on, and he's going to tell us, he has a book called The American Mindset. And his book is about, well, from what the information that he sent, it's historical. And he's going to tell us, it says, based on a true story about Hartman Turnbull, one of the first men to attempt to register to vote in Lexington, Mississippi. So, Dr. Wilkins, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're glad.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So, is your American Mindset, is it somewhat biographical or autobiographical, or is it about the Mr. Turnbull?
Well, both. Actually, I wrote a book called The Mississippi Mindset, and it was based primarily on my grandfather and the work that they had done in the civil rights. Actually, in their home, they used to meet with Medgar Evers, Fannie Lou Hamer, and all of these particular civil rights activists at the time. Now, what happened, the basic thing that took place was, of course, he simply wanted to exercise his right to vote. And so at the church, about 30 of them met to go and register the next day. Of course, 14 of them showed up. And at the Lexington courthouse steps, the sheriff stood in the doorway and asked them, which one of you niggers want to come register to vote first? And my granddad stepped up and said it was him. And of course, as a result of him attempting to vote at that particular time, as they did in those days, they published his name in the newspapers. This was all done to make sure employers fired anybody that was, not cooperating by trying to exercise their right to vote. But my granddad owned his own company selling pulpwood. But the simple fact was, what they did was that night, they came, surrounded the house, shot up his house, threw fire bombs in his house. With him there, my mom as a kid, and my grandmom. And of course, my granddad shot back. And of course, he shot a couple of them. And as a result, they found out the next day that it was the local sheriff and the deputies that were in the KKK suits shooting up his house. So along with this and the things that they were doing that pertain, in fact, Robert Kennedy, the AG at the time for President Kennedy, got involved because they knew this was just something that was beyond wrong. And of course, as I continued to do research, I found out there were so many different stories like this throughout America. And so American Mindset was based upon my initial research for my granddad, along with the simple fact that this was occurring in places throughout the South and the North in America. So we start to address the problems that had a great deal to do with the systemic racism that is embedded in American society, period. And so we thought this book would be necessary to let people understand you don't have to be from Mississippi to have a Mississippi mindset. And I've traveled throughout the world, literally the world. I was in the military for some time. And of course, just a few days ago, I got back from Africa. So I continue to travel. And the one thing that I found in places throughout the world, in Asian countries, and China and Japan, all of these people know the word nigger. And it's an American word, and that's where they learned it from. See, so the thing is that we found that a lot of things that have been done in America, and we talk about the great things that America accomplished, and then we could talk about those who are saying they're trying to make America great again. And it's our opinion that America has never necessarily been great for African Americans. So there are some things and some issues that we brought up to make sure that people were clear. So you can make your own choices, make your own decisions, but then be realistic about the fact that, you know, we've achieved some things, but we have quite a few things to achieve.
Right, right.
What ended up happening to your grandfather? Did he have to leave town?
He absolutely did. He did not want to go, and he was encouraged even by Medgar Evers that he had to leave town because clearly retribution was something that they were looking for. But he did for a while. He moved to Detroit with his family, and then later to Chicago. But he decided that he was born, he lived, he fought in Mississippi, and that's where he was going to die. And I was the one who actually took him back. I packed him up and brought him here some time ago, but took him back to Mississippi, where he did die of, well, gangrene, of course, but he died in his 80s. So he lived a long life and did things. And it's something that me, from a family of 9 of us, being raised by a single parent, I had no idea. Every summer we go there to visit Mississippi, had no idea what he was involved with because they made it clear that it was necessary to keep the children safe and away from the things that was happening in the late night meetings at the churches where most of the things took place in terms of the civil rights at the time. And then learning that eventually, the truth be told, it was the young folks that were put in the forefront, and they were done this for a particular reason, because many of the Blacks who did work for whites during those particular times, they had to worry about their livelihood. I mean, they not only would get fired, but they also tried to hang them as the situation was in those particular times. So it was something that they had to come up with and to decide, you know, to sacrifice our children to be able to accomplish many of the things in the civil rights that were accomplished. It was really because of all of the activity that the youth had did. And we're missing some of that now. There's some wonderful organizations with youth. There's some wonderful people doing some wonderful things all over the country. And I think still there's an effort to keep us divided more than coming together because we have similar goals and similar desires and visions. It's just a shame that in 2023, we're still dealing with a number of these issues that existed in the 60s and prior to the 60s.
That is true. One key thing that's missing today, and I posted it recently about it on social media, is the generations before had more of an anchor. They had more grounding because we had family, we had church, we had community, and the communities were small. Everybody had the same values. It doesn't mean everybody wasn't in the same position, but everybody had the same values. Everybody had the same idea what right and wrong was. And the adults really did protect the children. It was a very secure environment, even though people historically think that it wasn't. But for the children, it really was, because the parents kept the children away from, the racism and the racial things and things that were happening. And
Well,
so,
but even that, you'll find that from generation to generation, we begin to lose a lot of those particular things. And it has a great deal to do with things like what you're doing now. So I commend you for the Black Authors Matters TV, for the work that you've been doing and the festivals and things like that. But you have to admit that a long time ago, they used to say, if you want to keep something from Black folk, put it in a book. So one of the things that we have to keep in mind is this is still something that's necessary. Our children don't read nearly as much as they need to or should, and that includes our adults. The other side of it also is the fact that you have babies having babies. It's just a realistic thing that's occurring. So you got mothers and grandmothers still at the club hanging out together. But this also is systemically designed, because think about the days when parents, especially our mothers, are having to raise these children on their own, and the government specifically stated, as long as a man wasn't in the house, we'll help you. But yet they were still helping whites get lands for their families, everything. So systemically, this has been designed. It's not an accident that these things are taking place as they are right now. And I think that with everything that's going on, we have to be mindful of our mindset, our very own mindset. And of course, if we give up on the generations that's coming after us, then we're just in trouble, because each one of us have a responsibility to do whatever we can. And they say to reach one, teach one, and all of that is great. But at the end of the day, we have to be careful not to give up on these young folks that's coming after us, because things don't look so good right now. But all you have to do is look at the design that's in place from our house to the White House, and you could see that systemically it's been made throughout the educational system, the healthcare system, school system, employment. It has been systemically designed to keep Black folks in the place where they believe that we should be less than. And it's not true. And we have to be careful, because if we're told a lie long enough, we might start to believe that that's true. See, and that's what's happened all along. Someone having a mindset thinking that based upon the color of your skin, they're better than you. And it's been proven wrong and wrong again. And then even throughout the political system, you'll find that they admit, okay, we've done some things wrong, and we can do a better job. But to this particular day, a better job is not really being done. I mean, issues with the young Black gentleman from Nashville, Tennessee, and how they're expelling them from the house, stuff that's unprecedented, that's not been taking place prior to somebody talking about they want to make America great again. And clearly that was a message to a particular group of people that continue to do things to keep us divided, instead of having us to come together and understand that despite some people's mindset, we have to know that we're not a helpless people, we're not a hopeless people, that there's a number of things that we can do right here in America. And that's where we have to start, if that's where we live, because you can go all over the world and find out that there's still a lot that needs to be done, but it has to start at home, just like anything else. It's a wonderful thing to be a blessing to others, but you have to get blessed yourself first. See, so if you're not handling business at your house, it's difficult for you to handle business outside of your home. And even with the relationships between African men and African American women, you'll find that some of this stuff is just based upon a mindset. Not only we've been taught improperly and incorrectly about how to be a man in the house, how to treat women in the house, how to treat our children. All of these things are a part of a mindset that we have to come to the realization that we can do better, especially if we get together.
Well, you've said a mouthful on that. One thing though, that sometimes people, a system can be started and then it can be perpetuated by the victims. And from what I'm saying from that is, and I totally agree, the ball started, or the negative snowball started when the government took the man out of the home and paid Black women not to have a husband, or not to, you know, but after the initial group that did it, then it just became a lifestyle. It became intergenerational, and people started to adopt that attitude. So at the point now where, and I was talking to my daughter about this recently, we have 2 or 3 generations of women and young men, but I'm talking specifically about women, who don't really know what it looks like for a man to live there productively and be the man of the house. They really, let's say overnight, they said, okay, this is what I want. They don't know what it even looks like to even do it. So
Right.
that's a real challenge, because we tend, as humans, we tend to duplicate what we've experienced.
Absolutely.
When we become adults, we kind of sort of duplicate what we grew up in. And so,
Absolutely. But that doesn't make it right,
oh
because
no, I'm
one of
not
the
saying
things
it's
that
right. I'm just saying it's
exactly.
human behavior. That's
Yes,
what
but
happens with humans.
that's exactly why we have to deal with our mindset, because what you said is absolutely correct. And you're talking about generational curses that's been handed down from one generation to a generation. But it's the same thing that I always said. We have to begin to accept responsibility. And it's not too late. As long as we wake up above the ground, we still got an opportunity to do some things. Because one of the things that you will have to keep in mind is that, you know, we didn't know when we were a baby that we had baby teeth. But once we got older, we grew out of those baby teeth and got our other teeth. See, so it's the same thing with our, just because someone has been telling you all of your life, you're no good, you're never gonna be no good, because auntie them wasn't no good, your daddy wasn't no good, your mama wasn't no good, until we find out that, hey, perhaps they were wrong. And if you think about everything that any particular African American has achieved significantly, it's never been done until it was done. They say things is impossible. You and I know for a fact myself, I never thought I'd live to see a Black president. Now, depending on how old you are and where you came from, you know, this is something that you was like, oh, well, that ain't gonna happen in this lifetime, until it did. But it's the same thing of the things that they tried to keep away from us, to strip from us. Because if somebody made it against the law for you to learn how to read, because they didn't want you to know who you were, then you have to understand it's got to be something powerful in reading. See, so until you come to that realization, you have to understand that a lot of things that we were told purposely incorrectly to keep us from the knowledge of ourselves. And unfortunately, it's still working to this particular day. We do a production called Fred about the biography of Frederick Douglass. And we kind of put a hip hop spin on it, because one thing we know is if we don't get their attention, they ain't gonna learn nothing. But the second thing that we discovered is that many of the youth that have seen this production are like, wow, this is amazing, because we use hip hop music that they're familiar with to get their attention. But we told stories that was the truth about what he had to go through, and the things that even from that particular point are still affecting many of our youth today. So we have to understand, no matter what it was, no matter if they told us every single day that the sky is red, you know, and we went along with the program till one day we looked up and says, you know, it kind of looks blue to me. And so then we have a responsibility to speak up. And what happens is many times the same things that were being done to our families at the back in those days are being done to some extent to this particular day. So you do, if you are working for someone, you have to be careful what you say or do. So I thank God that I've been blessed to own my own businesses, to be able to speak up as a free man, because it's a challenge. And so one of the things that I used to tell folks, I also was a pastor of Created by Christ Ministries. And I used to tell folks, don't tell folks about how great your pastor is. Or every time, oh, he preached the paint off. Or don't tell them about that, because folks come for different reasons. Some want to come and see how the choir could sing. Some want to come to see you swinging off the chandeliers. Some want to come to see what you're wearing so they could talk about you. But the bottom line is, as long as we get you there, that's the starting point right there. We have to all get there. And we have to get there having a mindset to know that there are some things we need to accept responsibility for. There are some things that we have to check out ourselves. Don't just take my word for it. Be really downright lazy not to be able to research and do things nowadays because of Google and the internet and stuff. So for you not to be able to research stuff for yourself means you're just lazy. That's just my opinion, because information is too easy. So then you have to be careful who you get your information from, so that you can ensure that this information is not biased, giving you facts that you can make your own decisions. And that's what has to happen to change our mindsets. And here in Mississippi now, it's absolutely embarrassing the things that they are continuing to do consistently, trying to keep African Americans in a position other than the position that they deserve to be in. And if you guys heard about this CRT, this critical race theory, it's a bunch of nonsense that every day it boggles my mind that they made laws in not only Mississippi, a couple other southern states, preventing you from teaching Black history. Now they call it what they want, and they're saying we don't want people to feel bad about, their history or whatever. The facts don't change. What was done, and you could pretend to sweep it away and whitewash it and do everything you want. But at the end of the day, Black history is inextricably tied to American history. You have no American history without Black history. And why is it that there's a problem with them teaching that?
Well, in fairness, critical race theory is more than just teaching Black history.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
But what is the basic premise of critical race theory?
Critical race theory is more about teaching why certain mindsets are the way that they are. It also, it's not just about teaching history. It's about systemic racism and how it gets started. It's really more about that than teaching Black history. So I just want to make that distinction.
That's not a problem at all, because what you just said is absolutely true. And because of systemic racism, that is exactly stemming from Black history.
It is, but I'm just saying it's just more than about teaching Black history. There are no laws against the teaching Black history.
In Mississippi, they just yes, it is in Mississippi. Trust me.
So they passed a law in Mississippi that you can't teach Black history in the school.
Well,
Right.
they put it under under the CRT system. They put it under that, saying that is prohibited from being taught in any publicly funded school. The answer to your question is absolutely, that's what they did.
Yeah, CRT is a catch-all, and it seems like it means different things to different people.
Absolutely.
The original thing that I heard about it was that it was a college level course.
Well, they're trying to teach it in elementary schools because kids are needing to learn about this at a younger age. But critical race theory is actually it's a theoretical study. It's more than just Black history. That's what I'm saying. It's not really a catch-all. There may be some people using it as a catch-all.
Yeah, some people are using it as a catch-all.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that's what it is, though.
Absolutely. And so I'm clear on that. But at the end of
Mhm.
the day, I just believe that those in positions to do so have to do whatever they can to make sure that not only that our young people know not only the importance of their history, but how it's inextricably tied to everything that we have to deal with today. And so, along with, as you stated, it being systemic, that's one of the things that people really have to understand, because if it's intertwined into a system where laws were designed to prevent you from accomplishing the things that God had ordained you to do from the time you were born, then you have to understand that it's a lot to overcome for those who may not in a position to do as much as some others can. And I just wanted to make sure that we encourage people that with whatever's going on in your life, that's personally or professionally, you have to understand that most of the time it starts with your mindset. When somebody's driving down the road in Chicago, we have a horrible habit of it. I thought we had some of the worst traffic in the world till I visited Africa and the Philippines. But the point is that somebody cuts you off the road and start rah 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 and cursing you and giving you all type of middle fingers and stuff. How you respond can determine exactly what happens in that situation. And it can go from worse to bad or bad to worse. But the thing is that everything that we're involved in, it's critical that we examine our mindset. And we have historically taught history wrong. We received that information wrong, and it was intentional to prevent us from understanding exactly who we truly are and who we can be. And some of the young folks around here today, they just need to be encouraged. There is no one more dangerous in the world than a person that has no hope. And many of our children, it's unbelievable at the young age that they have absolutely no hope. Some of them think it's a miracle if they'll live to be 21 in some of the areas that I teach and I'm in. So I think it's very, very important for us to encourage them wherever we find them, along with ourselves and each other, to know that we can do some wonderful and some phenomenal things. And that's why I'm so grateful for you all doing this. And Ms. Richardson, you had no way of ever remembering this, but myself and a gentleman named James Amps, back in the day, we used to do stuff with Blacks in the government. That's how I met you years and years ago.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we are.
I tell people I've lived about 5 lives. So
Right.
I got a PhD each time.
Hey, and that's
So,
important.
but I always believe in hope. I believe, for me, having hope and planning, having a project, having something to look forward to that can make a difference, that has driven me my whole life, even as a little girl. So that's something that I hope we can convey to more of our youth, that that they do have hope, but you have to have a foundation, because if you
Amen.
don't have the basics for education, you can't even really execute whatever dream you may have. You have to have the foundation. And so that's why I get back to what I said about, we had family, we had church, we had community. And you can be successful with 2 of those. It's better to have all 3. If you only have 1, it's very difficult. But wherever there's whenever you have a vision or a plan and you're starting to execute it and work on it, people will come across your path and help will be there. That's
Absolutely.
what I found my whole life, is not waiting for something to happen, because
Amen.
waiting is not a strategy.
Uh,
So,
That's true.
so we have 1 minute left. So we want people to know how to get your book, Dr. Wilkins. How do they get there?
Absolutely. By all means, they can always visit our website at www.spatheater.org. That's SPAATHEATER.org. You can always give us a call at 708-785-7371. And I look forward to doing whatever we can to help us understand that American mindset, it's a powerful mindset. And that we as Black folks, we've got the most powerful minds around. I believe that.
Amen. Well, I did put your website in the chat.
Okay,
We'll be able to reach you.
great. And all of our shows are archived forever on our Facebook page. So far,
Okay.
even from our very first show almost 3 years ago, every show we've done is still in our archive video, and then on our YouTube channel as well. So, and it's also, we have on 6 podcast platforms. So we'll continue to expand our reach. And this is what we do with the show. We don't take cues or direction or orders from anybody. This is a show that we created, and we have the people on that we want on. And our goal is to spread the word about reading and books, give authors exposure for their work, and sell books. That's the whole point, because it's all, money drives everything. That's really the long and the short of it. Well, Dr. Wilkins, thank you so much for being a guest on the show, and continued success. You keep working. You sound like you're not tired. You're no ways tired, as they say.
Amen. That's old school. Thank you all so very much. It's truly been a pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Great night. Thanks so much.
Okay, so we have our 2 books that we're going to be giving away. And what we're going to do is we are going to give you the trivia. The first book we're going to do is Nick Blake and the Remarkables. It's by Angie Thomas, and it's an advanced reading copy. And let me publish. Okay, the question for this book is, what New York Times best-selling book is Angie Thomas best known for? So, Rhonda, I made a typo on that.
I saw it.
You got it. Okay. I just noticed it. So because I send Rhonda the trivia questions in advance. So what is Angie Thomas? What book is she best known for? If you get the answer to that, you get the book. And this one, Hold You Down by Tracy Brown, that rhymes. There are 2 sisters in the book. Their names are Mercy and Lennox. They're the main characters in the book. What is their last name in the book? So if you answer either of those, you get your choice of the books. And for the people who won the autographed copy of Mary Monroe's new book, the hardcover, all of the books have been shipped. So if you're one of the people who won and you haven't gotten your book yet, it's on its way. Everything's been shipped. So
has already answered the first question.
Stephanie Burnham?
Yes.
Okay. So which one did Stephanie get?
The Hate You.
The Hate You Get. Okay, so Angie Thomas book was won by Stephanie Burnham, who wins almost every week. So let's see, Stephanie won that.
Awesome library.
She must, from us. Okay, so our next guest is Ari Gibbs, and she's with the Well-Read Sisters Book Club. And this organization came to our attention through articles that have been published about them. She started an online book club. They meet the last Sunday in every month, and they have a lot of members. So as soon as she comes on screen, hi, Ari. Thank you for being a guest, and welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi. Hello. Happy to be here. Good evening.
Okay. All right. So you have a sisterhood, the Well-Read Sisters Book Club. And when did you start this? That's my first question.
Well, it'll be we're coming up on 5 years in October.
Okay.
We went 501c3 2 years ago in March. And we've just been cooking. Essentially, at first, I just wanted to read more, see more faces that look like my own. I was just getting into corporate, and I was the only Black woman in my company. So I wanted to read more, but I also wanted to see more Black women. My first meeting was about 10 Black women that showed up. So I wasn't the only one with this excitement and this want to connect. After that, we just kept meeting. We found central locations. During the pandemic, we really beefed up our virtual component. And now it's like 4,000 Black women globally meeting at different times, at different places all over the country. So, you can't be a Black woman that's just in New Jersey or New York, but you can also be a Black woman that's in Canada or Africa, stationed, hanging out, all talking about literature written by Black women. So it's super cool.
Well, I read the anthology, the Well-Read Sisters anthology, and I really enjoyed it. A lot of different stories in it, and from some pretty well-known people.
Yeah. I think you're more so referring to the Well-Read Black Girl anthology, maybe perhaps.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And I agree with you on that. I think that that's just another space where we're highlighting Black women authors.
Yes.
And we need more of that. Only 5% of all authors are Black people. So even less than that are Black women. And lots of people are familiar with the canon, like Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, but not as many are familiar with these new and up and coming authors that also have a space. Some of them are New York Times bestselling authors, but they don't have the same following or the same support on social media. So this idea of just collecting it, curating it, making it easy and digestible is the idea.
Well, wonderful. And I love that you are showing your support that way and helping these authors to find their platforms.
So do you all pick a book to read? How does your process work for your book club?
Okay, so it could be any genre. It just has to be written by a Black woman. So that's the fun of it. So we're not just gonna read something that, one woman said, are all the books sad? And I wondered, why do you think all of the narratives about Black women are sad? I want to see Black women who were perhaps slaves, right? But I also want to see Black women who are brushing their teeth, fishing, who are the heads of their companies, who are falling in love.
Just normal people.
Living. Yeah, that's what it's about. All the narratives. Like when I used to read, I always made the characters Black people, even if I knew that they weren't, right? It was easy for me to digest and understand because I want to see myself in the story. So that's the idea. So any genre. And every month we just gather about 8 books and then we put it on the social media at Well-Read Sisters. We vote on the book ballot and then we choose a book. Sometimes we get to talk to those authors and behind the pages, so they'll come back and chat with us. And we also do a weekly wellness check-in. It's called Sis, You Good, where we check in with each other, see how we're doing. It was really great during the pandemic, so people weren't feeling so isolated. But now it's just a great connectivity piece because Black women want to check on each other, but they want to really think about themselves for just a moment. So we help to do that.
That's amazing. I love the fact that it's not just about reading, that you're actually establishing a real sisterhood.
Yeah, that's the idea, to make it like a part of your life, right? So it's all bonded through the Black women literature, right? But the overall mission is to promote the personal and professional development of Black women. So that's why we implement things like Headshot Day, resume building, speed friending. So like on Saturday, we're having speed friending. It's at 3 p.m. at Harlem Shake. And it's for Black women to get together and meet each other, be deliberate about making friends. And it's also virtual if anyone wants to get down. It's on Eventbrite, it's on social media, but it's exciting because I've seen people really be friends, bond, businesses, get homes just by being deliberate and saying, I want to be friends today. I'm going to be vulnerable. Who are you? So it's fun. Yeah.
What you described in the beginning is very common in corporate or even government, where Black women, you have your credentials, you've gone through, you've gotten degrees and you get the position. And then wherever you are, you're isolated and you're one of a handful, or in your case, you're the only Black woman where you work. I've been there too years ago because I've been self-employed for many years. But when I moved to Houston, my first job, I was the only Black person at the company. And it wasn't a huge company, but it was big enough. And I got a lot of hate, not from the sources that you might expect, but I got a lot of hate from the white women that were there. I mean, it was really just something I had experienced it in college, but I had some buffers then because I had my circle of friends. When I moved to Houston, I didn't have any friends. So, a lot of times you make friends at work. Work is a source of meeting people to become friends. Well, I didn't have that as a source. And when I moved, I moved because of my first husband. So it was very isolating. But the work environment was very, very debilitating. I was only there for a year and I had another opportunity. I took it. But I understand how it feels.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you're hated because you're qualified, because because you got it going on and you know what you're doing and you know more than they know. And they find that to be intimidating and a threat and all kinds of stuff.
I think I'm with you on how isolating it can be to be the one of only in a space. And like, I think I've been blessed in being in spaces where I feel like I've gotten some kudos. Like I've gotten a lot of support from spaces that are not just Black spaces. And I'm excited for that. Like, you're working hard. I feel like I've been really blessed with some great opportunities for recognition, even when it's not in Black spaces. But I feel like there's something powerful about knowing yourself, seeing someone like you, being able to let your guard down, being able to kind of relate on a certain language, being able to not have to over-explain certain things that you just have to when you're outside of any culture. And I just think that that's powerful for us to just have our own universe of just like not even making a conversation about white people, but solely making a conversation about Black women and living there and what's on our plate and what are we doing and how can we strengthen each other. It's different. It feels good.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will tell you, working in the field that I work in, I'm often the only. I was kind of used to being either the only or one of a few. But for me, even though I don't feel that, well, not all of them, there were some that were just them. But for the most part, I felt that the people around me were not waiting for me to fail. They were treating me like anybody else, and I was happy with that. But I felt like sometimes I put pressure on myself because I felt that I had to represent.
Yeah.
So because like, okay, well, if I fail, they're going to think all Black women are going to fail. If I go off, they're going to think all Black women are going to go off. And so often I probably put more pressure on myself. Now, with that being said, there were times where I spoke up, and often certain stereotypes were projected onto me because I was the Black woman who spoke up. So I was, and this is even by some Black men who I worked with, I was called the argumentative one. Or, I always had an issue with something. And I often saw that coming from the Black men that I work with, and it wasn't just other people, other races.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I think it's so unfair in general, Black women, especially like in terms of having emotion, being passionate about things. Like we always have this thing in our mind, like this balance, like of this perception management. We don't want to come across a certain way. So we have all these different things that we're thinking about before we're just saying what we feel, or like so many things that we're second guessing ourselves about when we're completely confident about it. So many times when we need to get someone else to co-sign when we already have the knowledge and the backing, and that can be really frustrating. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, and I'm with you on some of it is an inner battle, right? Some of it is us. Some of it is us just kind of overworking ourselves, making sure we want to win. So that means what is rest? That we feel guilty. Are we being lazy? This weird thing. I'm pro nap. I'm into this nap situation. Like I like this rest
that team no sleep. Y'all stop saying that.
That's out, right? No, I blame Diddy and these power naps, right? And now we're all thinking that's how we be productive, but there's other ways. Right. There's other ways, rest and balance and giving yourself grace and all these things that we really do not take literally or seriously, or we're so easy to relinquish and give to others, but not ourselves. So I just want us to be on this self-love journey of just Black women thinking about themselves, even if it's a few minutes a day, reading their own stuff, being familiar with their own jargon, what's going on in our own world, supporting each other. It's just a happier space, and it's a better space because we have to walk in the world. You're gonna get the microaggressions and the other stuff. We gotta move. Yeah.
So your Well-Read Sisters book club.
Yeah.
What made you decide to focus exclusively on Black women's writing?
Yeah, so I feel like, first of all, it's important. I think that I wanted to be more familiarized with more Black women authors. I wanted the Black women space, but initially I was even apprehensive. I was like, I wanted to have a book club, but I didn't want anyone to feel like they would be left out. And I had a mentor who said to me, you have to give me one good reason why Black women can't have something to themselves, and then you can do something else. Couldn't think of nothing. So Well-Read Sisters it was. And it's something that organically keeps growing based on need and just the amazing women that are part of the universe that come and contribute their time and their efforts and their talents. It is definitely just a space of just Black woman excellence. And you're just there and you're just in awe of these perspectives and these just myriad of ages. It's just a great time. Great time.
Okay. So how do you do the, who does the planning? Do you have a committee? Do you have a hierarchical structure? With 4,000 people participating, there has to be some kind of order. So how is it structured?
Well, great question. So currently we are looking for board members because we're formalizing the board. We have committee members. So we have many committees that help us. And so essentially they're just ladies, well-read sisters in the community that offer up their time. Everything else is self-contained. I host most of the programming, so I'm just always running my mouth. And doing like virtual and in person and showing up. So it's a lot of us doing the work for each other as I'm taking the time to now look out for board members to really formalize and get into that next step of that nonprofit space.
So do you have kind of an open season? How can people get involved?
Yeah. So what you do is you go to wellreadsisters.com and you join the sisterhood. So it's a form you fill out. If you like, you can check new sister friend, and that's how you connect with an existing well-read sister. So that way, you know somebody when you come into the community, as well as you can ask her any questions. Maybe you don't feel comfortable asking the host or during a meeting, but you fill out the form and that puts you on the newsletter. It keeps you informed. You get opportunity for promotions. And then you can also reach out to us with book suggestions, food for thought questions, anything of that nature, a shout out. You having a great week. You want to hear about yourself. You can do that or email hello@wellreadsisters.com.
Okay. Name some of the books you've read, your club has read recently.
Oh, we've read some good ones. We read Token Black Girl. We read When No One Is Watching, Alyssa Cole. I strongly recommend that. That is like a reread. It's like a thriller, but it's her first one because the romance novelist is amazing. Currently, now look, it just came in today, so it's going to look like a prop, but it just came in today. So this is the book we're reading today. I mean, this month. Black Girls Must Have It All. I just got it. It's fresh off the presses. And this is the book we're reviewing on May 28th. So if you'd like to join us, please do. We do it virtually and in person. The RSVP is $5, and you can do all that at wellreadsisters.com.
Okay, now the Token Black Girl book, she was on the show recently, and Danielle Prescott was on the show. I'm looking at something, that's why I'm bending over.
Looking for the pink book?
And my book club, one of the book clubs I'm in is reading it now, and we meet about it on Saturday. So I'm like midway through that book right now. And then Jane Allen, that's the author of the book you just showed us. She'll be on the show soon. Let me see what date is.
She is a lovely spirit. She's lovely. I feel like we haven't really met any authors that haven't been super gracious and amazing, but Jane Allen is definitely like a supporter. We've read all of the books in her Black Girls Must Die series.
Black Girls Must Be Exhausted, wasn't it the first one? And she was on the show when that one came out.
Oh.
So we haven't had her back for the second one. We're having her in a couple of weeks for this third installment.
Okay, I'm going to tune in for that. I want to see what she has to say on that one. I'm kind of excited I haven't started it. It just came in today, so I'm excited.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She'll be here May 2nd. Let me see what time. It's like she's on the 8 o'clock, which, are you on the East Coast?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's 9 o'clock your time.
Thank you.
And you can ask questions and interact during the show. And so what's the book that you all read kind of, let's say in the last year, that got the most traction or the most interaction with the well-read sisters?
Oh, wow. That's really hard to say. There's so many. I almost went to go back to that Alyssa Cole book because she had this awesome scene in a cab that got some great talkings. Oh goodness. We have some great ones. When we read Lakewood, that got some buzz. Oh goodness. I don't think there's been a book. And then the Token Black Girl one was good because that one was just amazing. And that one I think was really like special for the book club because it kind of had a play on being that only Black woman, what that looks like. Oh gosh, I don't think there's a favorite because it's always different. I think we have a lot of books that women have strong opinions about and want to analyze, but I can't say that there's any favorites, and I try not to have any bias. I come in and I don't want anyone to know my favorites because then I feel like people won't be as open with their juice. I'm like, do you like it? Do you love the characters? And I love to ask the authors, like, are they about your life? Are these characters from your own life? Is always a good question because sometimes.
Well, yeah. Well, with Danielle Prescott, her book is like overdrive on her. It's a memoir, and I read mostly fiction. I would say 90% of what I read is fiction. So I don't read a lot of memoirs, but it's definitely is very good reading in terms of just amazing. The story is just, it's an amazing story that she tells about her life. And it's not your typical Black person's experience. Let me put it like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, like we were saying at the top of the interview, everything doesn't have to be a typical, sometimes.
No, it's not. It's different. And the beauty of this show, we have had so many guests. I've been telling people we're approaching the 500 interviews in 3 years. Well, not quite 3 years. And the number 500, we'll get there sometime in May or June. I don't know which show. But talking to 500 different people, you really get the understanding that there are lots of different stories to be told. There are lots of different stories that have been told. No two people's experiences are identical. There's some common threads, but then there's some individual things that stand out. And some of the fiction writing that's being written today, I believe our options and the quality and quantity of the work that's being put out now is really unprecedented. And I've been reading books my whole life since I was 4 years old. As far as Black people writing books and telling stories, is some of the novels, some of the character development, and it's all different time periods. It's from the past, the present, the future. It's all of that. And that's just makes it really great.
No, I agree. It's a good time. It's a good time to be a Black woman. It's definitely a good time to be a Black woman author. I agree. Or a Black woman reader of a Black woman.
Right.
You can see yourself. The stories are juicy. It's a good time. And it's exciting. And I like hearing the different perspectives and just going on these different journeys, whether it be sci-fi, whether it be just real life jam, because real life stuff is important. I want to know what mistakes you made or what great challenges you've been through. So that way I don't make the same mistakes, or maybe I don't feel as badly about the mistakes I've already made. It's exciting. It's exciting to share this journey.
Well,
it is.
I'm saying all of that. I mean, with the variety of books that the book club has, how can an author get their book in there? How can an author be down as
No, it's easy to be down. So first of all, you're a well-read sister just by being a Black woman. You're like, you're down. So thank you for being here. You're already contributing to the community. So in terms of being an author on the list, you just email hello@wellreadsisters.com and you'll be added to the ballot. Now it's just essentially as they come to us. So we do it based on releases, but those independent books, they do get a chance as well. And they just have to get voted for. So if you know a lot of people and you got a lot of people rooting for you, get them to vote for your book. Everyone gets 2 votes, no cheap seats. And we love to highlight, reread. Sometimes it gets hot. We read 2 books. So all you would do is essentially submit that book to help at wellread.com.
Do you prefer the physical book or the ebook?
Okay, great question. It could be anything. So it could be physical, it could be it could be audio. You could have got it from the library. You could come and just listen to the meeting and probably read it later. We just want you to come and just catch a vibe, catch a book lady vibe, you know.
How long are your meetings?
So the meetings are usually 2 hours. We always give away free books. If you come in person, you get food. We have wine. We have a lovely wine partner, lovely wine. That's awesome wine. Check it out. Black woman owned wine brand. Super delicious story to go with it. We serve, I already said snacks, but I always think food. We always sell different kinds of food. And of course, we do our great photo video on the Well Read Manor stoop, where we say, "Well read, sisters," and we shake our books. It's just good. It's just a fun time. The last meeting, he was like, "Dang, I'm having fun." And it was like, yeah.
I just want to be a part of the book club because I'm just loving all of this melanated joy that I'm feeling that's coming through my screen right now.
It don't lose. And it's Black women, all shades, sizes, factors, ages, whatever. And everyone's just coming and, you know, dress whatever. You could be in your sweat, you could be in your Sunday best. And everyone's eating cheese though. And we're talking about the book and we're having a good time. And it's always nice to see the ladies come back, feel bonded, share a little more. Introverts and extroverts, you come and don't have to say nothing. So if you think I'm talking, you can just come and sit there. We want people to just enjoy themselves and be themselves because Black women come in all shapes and sizes.
Amen.
Now, where are you located? Are you located where the physical meetings are?
Yes, I am. So the physical meetings are at the Well Read Manor in Harlem. When you RSVP and you pay the $5 fee, you get the address. Sometimes it's places, but for the most part, they're at the Well Read Manor. And every meeting is live streamed. So you can join virtually. So you will get that essential Zoom link information with the RSVP fee and get to join from home and still have an opportunity to win a book.
Okay, now somebody, I think it was Stephanie Vernon, she said she attended the one, she said the discussions are super fun. She's one of our regular viewers. She said she attended the one for This Close to Okay.
Oh,
you want to read that?
Yes.
And she said that you are so good at keeping the discussion rolling.
All right. Thank you for that.
So who is This Close to Okay? Who is that by?
Okay, so This Close to Okay, that's Lessa. That one's pretty good. I have to jog my memory a bit. We read a lot of books on that one, so I have to jog my memory a bit on that one.
Okay.
But I
don't want to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think that one we read in maybe 21. So it's been a bit on that one, but I do remember the book and I remember being a good, juicy discussion.
Okay. And she said that it was really helpful when the pandemic was going on. This is Stephanie.
Yeah, I felt like that too. I felt like it's a great bond for me too. Just to be seeing people. Sometimes some sisters weren't seeing enough sisters just to see people and feel connected. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not human to be locked up. You know, I never locked down. Because I just can't be enclosed. But what I did was, because I have an office, but I'm the only one in my office because I have my own business. So I would go to the office, even if it was just for 2-3 hours a day, just to get out. And then it would be very few people in the building. You know, it wasn't a vertical, it's a 2-story building. So it wasn't like you had to go in elevators with people. And it was only a handful of people even coming in the building. So, you know, but at least I got to get out because I couldn't do it. But
Getting is important, stretching your
Mhm.
legs and being deliberate.
yes,
We gotta
yes,
put these things in our life. Like they can't just happen. The world is
Right.
crazy. Things can happen. We gotta be deliberate about our spaces. I'm with you on
yeah.
that. Mhm.
Of course, where I live, it's not, New York is a lot different because it's so densely populated. Where I am is spread out, so it was easier to stay safe even going out, if you know what I mean.
Mhm, mhm,
Um,
mhm.
so, but everybody has to do what they're comfortable with. I'm not recommending anybody to do anything they're not comfortable with, because each of us has our own methods and
Mhm.
what we feel, safe with. Mary Evans, another one of our viewers, said, how many are usually in attendance at when you have an actual physical meeting or the Zoom meeting or whatever? How many are normally there?
That's a great question. It really depends. I would say on the Zoom meetings, it could be about maybe 30 ladies. And in person, we're thinking about capping it at even 25, just for capacity, just for spacing.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what it's been. And it varies depending on the book.
Mhm.
Sometimes ladies are like, I'm not into that one. They'll pick another one and they read another one in the Well-Read Sisters library. But
Right.
it's
Mhm.
good. One thing I like is the different age groups and the people from the different locations, because just like you're saying, just someone from New York and someone from Connecticut, and just someone being 30 years old and somebody being 60 years old, talking about the same book, they can really get into it and open each other's minds to a different perspective. That's always great. That's always great. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Perspectives, I mean, because somebody on one side of the country is going to probably see certain things totally different from somebody on the other side of the country.
But what's beautiful is they're both Black women, right?
mhm.
So it's beautiful because there's also the similarities when you're on the whole different side of the world, whether it be maybe some of your interactions at work and some of these different things, which are as great, but sometimes you can feel warm in that familiarity and feeling bonded by just the world.
Well,
Right.
unfortunately, we've come to the end of the interview.
Man, you guys are fun. Thank you for having me. I could chat all day with y'all. This is good. God. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And for those who want to join the Well-Read Sisters Book Club or just participate in some of their activities, I'm sure Rhonda has put it in the chat because she's always so good about that. And so you'll probably get some signups after the show, or maybe even now during the show.
Come
I
on
plan
now.
to go and explore it myself, and I'm in 2 book clubs, so that's the last thing I need. But anyway, I
Come
still
on
do it.
down. There's always room for book club. Thank you
Okay.
for having me. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much.
All right. Same here. You have a great evening.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay, so we did have a winner for the first book, and I think for the Hold You Down, I saw correct answers, but I think Mary did it first. Was it Mary? Okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was. Okay. All right, Mary, your book will be on the way. So our final guest is Renee Johnson, and Renee is going to tell us about her book. I needed to be more organized here. Oh, One Touch Ignites the Fire is the name of her book. And she's going to tell us what it's about. So I've admitted her. She's a certified counselor for domestic violence. And so I'm sure, and a motivational speaker. So I'm sure she has seen a lot of different things, a lot of different situations with people. And she works with at-risk girls from ages 8 to 18. And she says she loves to write. So Renee, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Oh, let's see. Get you to unmute.
Is that better?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay,
Hey,
great.
welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be on. I am.
Okay. Well, I see something behind you. And is that your book cover? Oh, you need to turn down your device. You need to turn your sound off. Turn all your sound off of your device because You can hear it. You need to turn down your device.
Did I turn
There's
it
a 6-second delay on the Zoom, and it creates the feedback. Okay. I can still hear it. You need to turn it all the way down where there's no sound at all. Just wherever your volume is. On whatever device you're listening to it on.
Can you still hear us? Okay.
You can't hear us?
She turned down the device, so that means she turned everything down.
Oh.
I can hear you now. You can hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear us.
I can hear
Yes,
you now.
but see, we can hear the feedback.
It's a feedback.
You have 2 different devices on.
Okay, hold on one
The
second.
device that you were watching the show on. Turn that one off.
Okay, let me see if I can turn that on.
You have 2 different devices on.
Hold on.
6-second delay. That you were watching the show on. Turn that one off. Rhonda left. She'll be back. I was gonna say, not you turn it off, Rhonda. I was telling Miss Johnson to turn it off. Okay, now
Okay.
can you talk? Okay, are
That's
we
good.
good now?
Yes,
I'm listening for that. Okay, I don't hear it now. Okay.
that's better.
Okay, great. Okay. So I was asking about the picture behind you, if that's the cover of your book.
That's actually one of my banners that I had made. I did a photo shoot, and that was one of the favorite ones that they chose. So they did
Okay.
my banner for me with my information on it.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you
Yeah.
have a copy of your book with you? The one that
I have the last one.
One Touch Ignites the Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is that a novel? Is it a memoir? Is it motivational? What is
This one is a romance book, and it's nonfiction. So I created a character that's in there, and the person that's in this book that I created actually is the character that's in my first book when I wrote about my journey through life and being in domestic violence for 17 years, grew up in a broken family and was raped and gang raped as a teenager and raped as a child growing up trying to find herself by other relatives. So I went through a journey of trials that I didn't understand why I had to go through it, and I wrote about it. But One Touch Ignites the Fire is where she's coming out now. She's over everything that she went through, and she's trying to get out again and see if she can find the right love. And so she falls in love with this guy, and it just goes from there. So I ended up writing 2. I did a Christian copy, and I did a non-Christian copy. And believe it or not, the non-Christian copy is the one that's selling the best.
No, I would believe that. Especially if you took out all of the sex. Is that what you did?
I took out a lot of the words.
Or is it just the profanity?
Yeah. I talked about it a little bit, but on a different level.
Okay, well, Christians do it too.
Absolutely.
So sometimes they want to have a little spice, not over the top,
Yes.
but
Yes.
some don't mind over the top. You'd be surprised. I'm in 2 book
Yes.
clubs. One's a church book club, and it just depends on the person. Some people,
That's true. That's true.
Depends on what they want to read.
That's
you never
true.
know. Now, you said that you were describing some of your experiences as a child and as a teenager and all of that. Were you able to seek any help? How did you get past that? That I can't imagine.
Yeah,
like that.
It was a rough journey for me. And that's a question that I've gotten throughout life when I talk about the things that I've been through. A lot of it, people look at me and say, I can't believe you've been through all that and you still have your right mind. But my main backup was prayer, reading my word, trusting God that he would get me out, or if he didn't get me out, that he would strengthen me to go through whatever I had to go through and help me to understand why I had to go through it. So my church was on my side. My mother, which has passed away, that raised me, she was on my side. She was my pillow, crying to almost every day, talking to her, calling her. And when it got to the point where she didn't have any more answers or didn't know what else to say to me, even writing scriptures and giving me scriptures to put all over my house, it got where it just really nothing was changing. But that was my strength, was to stay in my word and trust God that this is either going to get better or it has to come to an end.
Mm.
So do you feel like because you experienced some of the violence, sexual violence as a young person, that when you ended up, well, when you were in domestic violence, was this a spouse or boyfriend or?
He was actually my husband for 17
Yeah.
years.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you think that kind of made you vulnerable to being with someone who was violent? Were you expecting him? Like, I feel like once you experience that as a child, that's kind of that becomes kind of normal, or it's not normal, but expected is maybe the word I want to use.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for the years that I was in it, I got to the point where I felt like this is what it's going to be. This is my life. What can I do to change it? How can I make it better? Nothing made it better. I mean, even being the best wife that you can be, cleaning, cooking, washing clothes, being a mother to your children, going to work and coming home, and still got to maintain that wifely standpoint of doing what you're supposed to do. You get to the point where you feel like, maybe this is what it is. Maybe that part of the Bible that says the man is the head. Some people take it to an extreme, to a whole nother level. But I got to the point where I felt like this is what it is. And I shied away from everybody. I didn't want to be around other people. I didn't want other guys to be, talking to me, because I felt like if they talk to me and he catch me, I'm in trouble, even though I didn't push it to happen. So yeah, I did get to a point where I felt vulnerable, and then it seemed like I was in a cycle that every person that I met was controlling, was abusive, rather verbally. I never really went through the physical as much, just a little, but most of mine was mentally, verbal, and emotional. So I always felt like if a guy said, I love you, he's lying. If he says you're beautiful, he's lying, because I didn't get that at home. So yeah, I did go to a period of time like that.
What was that catalyst, that moment that helped you to realize, okay, I deserve better than this?
I got to a point where nothing was making me feel better. Nothing no one said. I was always raised in church. I was always taught to believe in God, pray, trust him. He would do it. He will not leave you or forsake you. But it got to the point where I was hearing these words and it was getting worse. Nothing was changing. So I got to a point where I didn't want to go to church no more. I didn't want nobody praying for me or laying hands or prophesying to me. I did not want to hear nothing else they had to say, because I still had to go home and sleep in that bed and feel what I felt every single day. So it got to a point where, I got to get through this. I didn't take counseling. I didn't have no coach, no mental health, nobody. I just kept trusting God. And that's when I picked up my pen and I started writing. And I put all my anger, my hurt, my energy into my writing. And I was able to release what I was holding in every day that people just didn't understand. So I wrote about it. And the more I wrote, the more I cried, but the better I felt.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So how many children did you have?
I have 4 children. Yes.
Okay, so when you made the decision to leave, you took your children with you, I assume.
It was at the point most of my children, well, all 4 of them.
They were already grown.
They were already
old
grown.
enough. They were old
Yes.
enough too. Yeah,
Yes.
so a lot of times women will stay in those situations because they have small children and they really don't know where they could go. And the abuser knows the family. They know where they live. So, if they're in town or out of town, they know, like when What's Love Got to Do with It? When Tina tried to leave,
Mhm.
I knew where she was going. So
Yes.
that's, I love that movie, not because of the abuse, of course, but the acting was just superb. And Angela Bassett got robbed on that one. She should have gotten Best
She
Actress
should
for
have.
that role because
I
she
agree.
played Tina to the fullest. And
Yes.
Lawrence Fishburne was a great actor because I hated him for several years after that.
I did too. I
I
did.
don't listen
I did. I
because he was
definitely
art to me and he was just horrible.
horrible. Yes, especially in the back of that car, but
He was
the upper
horrible.
hand. He
He
was.
was
He's
horrible.
a good
So
actor though. He
he
is.
is an excellent actor. I mean,
Mhm. He
and he
is.
was in some early stuff. I don't know if you all saw. I mean, this is off topic, but he was in the first what's that movie? Death Wish
Mhm.
with Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson.
He was in that, and he looked like himself, but he was acting, and he was in another movie. Was he in Cornbread? Cornbread. It was cornbread. Is it Cornbread Fish and Me?
He was in that one.
Cornbread Earl and Me.
Earl and Me. Okay, I
Ah.
got the wrong. But he was in that as an even younger kid.
Mhm.
He was in that, so he was acting a long time. He's been still
Yeah.
acting, still acting.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
anyway, you decided to start counseling other people with
Mhm.
regard to domestic violence. And so what are some of the common things that you see with women who are living in that situation?
One of the things that I see often is the fact that they blame themselves. When I hear them talk, even though they'll express how they feel, the anger that they feel, or the hurt, you see the scars on some of them, and some of them are hidden scars, but they all seem like come out to the same result as I must have done something wrong, or maybe I didn't do it the way he wanted me to do it, or I begged him, I'm gonna do better, I'm gonna get this right, or I hear it all the time. And I try to let them know that in domestic violence, no matter what you do, it's a sickness and it's on either part of the person that is the abuser. They always say that hurt people hurt people. And oftentimes I see it in women that they'll hurt, they'll cry, they won't help. But then at the end of the day, when you try to get them help or get them out, it's like they shy away. And then they'll turn and say, well, he's gone. So it'll be okay. I'll be okay. And then later that night or the next day, they let him come back. And then the cycle just keeps repeating itself. And the very hurtful part of it is when the children are involved, they don't realize that you're not just hurting, but your children are hurting. Your family that know he's beating on you, they're hurting and they want you out. But that's the main thing is I find that they blame themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah. One thing that, for young women, I mean, teenagers, I should say, teenage girls, if a boy is putting his hands on you, that's bad. Don't, leave him. Because the thing about people who are abusers, it doesn't get better. Because like you said, it's a sickness. If he hits you once, that's enough. That's a pattern. That's a pattern right there. That means he's an abuser. Don't leave him because it's going to get worse. And whatever he says, it doesn't matter because that's part of his personality for whatever reason. It's nothing, it's not about you even. It's about his approach in relationships. And a lot of times men, they learn it from their dads or whoever. Sometimes they're just angry and frustrated with themselves and you just happen to be the closest one. People say you hurt the one you love, the one that's closest to you is the one that catches the brunt of whatever your dark side is. And so for any young women who are watching tonight, or old women, nobody deserves to be beat up or psychologically. Some of it's, verbal, psychological abuse. I mean, that can be just as bad. It can't put you in the hospital per se, like being beat up where you got black eyes and bruises and broken bones. And, that's just, And some people, they end up being killed in those situations,
Uh-huh.
you know? It escalates. It normally gets worse and worse and worse. It
Yes,
doesn't get better.
yes, it doesn't.
So if you're waiting for it to get better, you're wasting your time and you're really
Mhm.
putting yourself in danger.
Yes, absolutely. And I say it all the time that you can get hit and get a black eye. It's going to go away eventually in a few days. But someone could say very low, nasty words to you that sticks to your mind. And you can walk into a whole nother relationship thinking, oh, well, I found somebody else. He treats me better. But something he can do or say that would trigger the thought of what happened in the last relationship lets you know you're not healed. You're still going through what needs to be broken, and you're taking that right into another relationship.
Mhm. And some women don't think they deserve better.
Yes.
And that, you know, every human deserves not to be beat up. That's
Mhm.
every human.
But that's why I asked the question earlier when I said, what was that point where you felt that, where you were finally convinced that you deserve better than what you were getting? Because there are many people who will blame themselves for the abuse.
Mhm. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, or they think they can't get better, or they're trapped, or what have you. So
Yes.
something had to click to say, okay, I don't deserve this anymore.
I actually looked in the mirror at myself and I said, you know, this is not my sister. This is not my mother or my relatives that are close to me going through this. This is me. And I got to want better. My sister used to tell me, Renee, when you tell yourself enough is enough and you're tired, I mean, really, really tired, you're going to do something about it. And so many times I said, I'm tired, I'm done, I'm not taking this no more. Pack my clothes, never leave. I left twice and went back. And each time I went back, it got worse. So I made up in my mind in that last moment when I got sick with shingles and I didn't know what shingles was. And he literally scratched me across the surface of where it was. I ended up going to the ER and the doctor had to tell him, your wife has shingles. And that's when he realized, oh, so she's not just sitting home with just a nightgown on at 6 o'clock in the evening when I come home from work, looking like somebody been there and she snuck him out the back door. No. And that's when I said, that's it. That's it. So I made my escape and I planned it in 30 days quietly because I prayed and told God, when I walk out this time, I want to walk out in peace with no retaliation, no fighting, nothing to look back on. My life should not be in danger because you have me covered. And I planned it and I walked out right out the back door and never looked back.
Well, thank God for that. And you know, I've had shingles twice.
Oh, wow.
And the
Horrible.
idea that somebody would touch it,
Ooh,
let alone
yes.
scratch it, it is
Yes.
a horrible thing. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I don't
Horrible.
have a lot of enemies. I don't know if I have any enemies, but I wouldn't wish it on. It is a horrible
Yes.
thing.
Horrible.
Horrible thing.
Yes.
Mine is triggered by allergy, by an allergy, a food allergy that I developed in the last few years. Never had it before in my life.
Wow.
And I got to acidic foods. And I got the allergy kicked in, which makes my eye itch and then swell up. And then a few days after that, the shingles comes out.
Ooh.
It happened twice. So I said, I'm never gonna let that acidic food allergy kick out. I can't do orange juice, can't do tomato paste on anything. And that's what originally made it
I
happen.
don't realize how much acid tomatoes actually have.
Yeah,
Yes.
the tomato paste is very acidic.
Yes.
Sauce is fine, and just like crushed tomatoes or just fresh tomatoes, but the paste is very concentrated.
Very, yeah.
And so, but I had it all my life, and then just all of a sudden, I developed an allergy. But the shingles is the horrible. It is horrible, and there's nothing that you can really do
No.
to make it other than an ice pack. That's what I did. I don't know if you when an ice pack will make it numb, so you can at least sleep. But it's cold. You're numb. It's cold. You have to lie on an ice pack to sleep.
Oh,
it's horrible. But
wish I'd known that then.
Yeah, it does work.
Ooh,
So, but I can't imagine somebody scratching it. Ooh,
yeah,
God bless you. I would have been in tears. You know, it
I
brings you to
was.
tears.
I
It brings
was.
singles brings you to tears, really.
Yeah,
That's
I
how
was.
much
It's
it hurt.
terrible. I didn't even know I had it. I just kept scratching and I never could get to where it's itching at because it hurt
Okay,
and
yeah, it itches, but it burns.
it
You
itches
know,
and burns at the same
itches
time.
and burns at the same time. It's horrible. So
Mhm.
you said you're working on book number 6,
Yes, I
and
am
you put
working on
others
that
to
one.
release their pain through creative writing,
Yes, yes,
and
I started
that's
that.
a good mission.
Um, I teach now creative writing. Um,
Okay.
I love writing. I've been writing since I was a little girl. So now I teach creative writing. I push the girls that I work with and mentor with. I push them to put their feelings in writing. I push that. I have one young lady that actually completed her book, and she's so excited. When she started, she wrote it and we deciphered it, and now she's got it into completion. And I have another young lady, I think she's 19 or 20. She completed her book, and it's just been going on and on and on. Writing is good, just write. But when you do creative writing, it brings that attention to the reader to see where you're going, not only just reading it, but they can actually see it. Because one of the things I really don't like is a book that's boring and you just pick it up and it's got all these words. It's like, okay, what am I reading? But when you bring it like it's coming off the page into reality almost, yeah, that's creative writing. So yeah, I teach that.
Oh, okay. That is true. I don't like you're right, a book. That's a lot of words, and it's like, where's this going? You know,
Yeah,
sometimes
yes,
some people, they can write, but it's like they're writing for themselves and not for public consumption. You know,
yes,
so they don't consider that the reader needs to be interested in what you're saying. It needs to
absolutely.
move, you know, some kind of way.
Mhm.
Well, we're getting close to the end of our time. I wanted to make sure that we get to see the covers of some of your books. So when
Okay.
people go to purchase them, they will make sure they get the right ones. Okay, and that we saw that one, One Touch Ignites the Fire.
This is
And
the
then,
revised copy. This is the
okay,
Christian copy.
okay.
And I have A Way to a Murderer's Heart that doesn't really talk about a murderer, but it talks about the words that are being said over God's people that are negative, that keeps people stagnated and not moving into their purpose in life. So it tells you how to break those words and be able to get up and do what you need to do and go forward with it. And
Okay.
this one is my first book. If you can see that one, it's a little bit lighter.
Mhm. The
That's the
Blaze of
Blaze of
Consumption.
Consumption, Arise from the Ashes. This one starts the journey. This is my very first book that talks about how and why I went through what I went through because of the seed of rejection from my parents. And so because that seed was planted, everything has a beginning. That's
Mhm.
why I went through what I went through. So that's the first one. And then the second one, which I done sold out of, is Which Witch is Which? That one I get so many questions about. It has nothing to do with a witch, but it talks about knowing your enemies and being aware of your surroundings and who you're connected to, because everybody's not for you. And that
Oh.
talks a lot about the 17 years of abuse that I went through, the people that I met that I thought was my friends that love me, but they wore masks. And those masks had to be removed for God to show me who they really were. And that's Which Witch is Which. That's a really good.
Oh, okay. And for people who want to connect with you on social media, or you have a website and so forth?
Yes. You can go to vesselsoflivingwater.com. And that's my website. You can go on there and you can get all the information about me and what I do. If you want to have me to come and speak, because I do mentor motivational speaking, I'm sorry. And all that's on their application. If you want to become a volunteer or a donor, that you want to donate to help the girls that we work with in the community, all that's on my website. And then I'm on Facebook, of course.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Renee, for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. God bless you and your continued work with domestic violence victims. And you're doing a great work and much needed work.
Thank you. I look forward to
Okay.
seeing you all in October.
Okay, same here.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a great
Thank you.
night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay.
All righty.
All right. Well, one thing that she did mention was the National Black Book Festival. We are in standard registration time, and we are 70% booked. So if you are planning to attend as an author, I would suggest that you get your registration in right away. The Black Authors Matter TV Awards, the voting process is underway. The finalists have been selected. You can vote for your favorites. If you want to see the video that shows all the finalists, go to the National Black Book Festival Facebook page, which is where you are now if you're watching the show live. And in the video section, that's the most popular video playing. So it'll be the first thing you see. The voting started yesterday. It ends on April 28th. You can vote every day if you want to for your favorites. And the award show is May 16th. So we'll see you then. That's it for this week. And I'm saying good night. Gwen Richardson signing off.
I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.